Clementine, you are in New Canopy.
Awesome.
Can you describe New Canopy for the wonderful listeners and myself, because you created it?
New Canopy is a settlement that is on the land of the red squirrels. And so right where New Canopy is, it's kind of a little bit of a mesh of both cultures, but the cultures of the brown squirrels is obviously kind of overpowering and overshadowing a lot of the red squirrel culture. And before it was called New Canopy, it was called Wayteak because there was lots of teak trees there, and the abundance of the teak trees and the teak wood is a big part of why the brown squirrels wanted to move there. And so lots of the businesses that they have going on are like little carpentry companies or toy making companies or house making businesses, things like that. And lots of the original Wayteak art that was in the area is kind of like either gone or like painted over or like kind of vandalized over, those sorts of things by all of the new fresh New Canopy things. And all the new fresh New Canopy things, all of their architecture is like super boxy and bold and loud. And there's a hospital and a school, and there's a little church for all of the brown squirrels, and they have playgrounds, and they have even like a little like higher education place. They don't really call it a college, it's just like, more school after school. And they have a library. And then to the south, there's kind of this unofficial line where you get to the hutches. And the hutches are the places that the brown squirrels haven't really touched too much, and they're where most of the red squirrels still live. And the red squirrels there aren't granted access to a lot of the things that they have, a lot of the things that the brown squirrels have in New Canopy. So they can't go to those schools, they can't go to those doctors. I mean, they can try to go to the doctors, but most of the doctors always turn them away. And they can't do any of the higher education stuff. And the red squirrels used to have their own church, but it was burned down. That was one of the first things that the brown squirrels took away. And so instead of having all of these like formal education things and formal like services that they can have access to, they just have very charitable brown squirrels who come in every now and then, like Clementine, who teaches the children, or kind of unofficial doctors who help with like alternative, who like offer alternative medicine services to the red squirrels. And she has lived in New Canopy for a very, very long time. So she's kind of just used to the way things run there. She came there because her husband, Gerard, was a toy maker. And because of all of the teak wood that was in New Canopy, his work kind of just took him that way. And so she followed him.
And Gerard is no longer around.
Yes.
Okay.
Gerard has
No
since
Gerard.
passed. That's
Today
wild.
is mostly like every other day. The only difference is that it is the day before the Giving's Day celebration. And Giving's Day is a celebration where both, I guess, cultures, the brown squirrels and the red squirrels, kind of celebrate how they live together in harmony, and how the red squirrels were so nice to share their land, and how the brown squirrels have just given so much back to the red squirrel on this day. And so, with your job working in the hutches as a teacher, how old are Clementine students generally?
Well, I don't really know how ages work in this world, but I would say they would be the equivalent of about maybe up to 10 years old, anywhere between like 5 and 10 years old.
Okay, so like an elementary school kind of range. Awesome. You're getting a lot of questions about what Giving's Day is. And one of your students, Jip, walks up to you. Miss Clementine?
Yes, Jip?
What's Giving's Day?
Oh, well, Giving's Day traditionally is a celebration of sorts of the sharing of land between the brown squirrels and you red squirrels. It was invented by General Logwright about, many years ago, I suppose. It was probably before you were born, but it is usually a day of great celebration. Although in years past it seemed to be more of a show of domination by the brown squirrels over the red squirrels. And
What's domination?
well, domination is when one thing takes over another, you see. It's when one thing becomes the subject of another. It's not an ideal situation for the red squirrels, and for that I apologize.
If it's about the cultures being together, how come you represent the red squirrels and you're a brown squirrel, Miss Clementine?
Oh, my dear Jip, I've asked myself that question many times as well. If it were up to me, I wouldn't be representing the red squirrels, I'm afraid, but as your representative, I will do my best to do what I can in the name of the red squirrels. I don't know that I can ever truly represent you, though.
And that's basically your entire school day, is Jip and Kip and Whip and Tip. How many did I just list? Quadruplets?
Yeah.
Quintuplets? Quadruplets. Here, asking you all the questions. They're all very, very curious. And that's basically your day until it ends early, because as you are one of the more renowned elderly brown squirrels, you and the other elderly folks of the community are basically put in charge of decorations and preparations for the big celebration tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So that ends early, and you walk through the hutches. You see everything that you want to protect, but no, you can't. You see a lot of the last remaining red squirrel art. You see a community filled with sharing and kindness. And you also see, of course, the affliction, the terrible disease that seems to be weaving its way through all of the mossflower woods.
Mm-hmm.
And you see red squirrels coughing with other red squirrels taking care of them. And as you're walking out of the community, you see as one brown squirrel with the affliction is just thrown into the hutches. Because, as you know, when brown squirrels normally get sick, a normal kind of sickness at least, they go into the hospital. But with this, the affliction, something that has been deemed essentially uncurable, brown squirrels get tossed in with the red squirrels when they get the affliction as well. And you just kind of watch as this... You don't really know this person by name so much, but you've seen them around the brown squirrel community a lot. Just gets tossed in by two guards. And as he tries to get back into the brown squirrel community, they do not allow him to.
So I think at the sight of this, Clementine goes right up to the brown squirrel and she says, Did you have a chance to tell your family that you were afflicted?
They've known for a while now. Well, my wife is the one that called the guards. Essentially, didn't want the kids to get sick.
Of course.
Which I understand.
Of course. Well, I will be going back into to the main sections of New Canopy very soon, so if you have anything you'd like me to tell your loved ones, I can do that for you. I am so sorry that you're here.
He reaches around his neck and pulls out, I'm not gonna say a necklace, more like an amulet. Like it's a chain with like a little this nice wood carving that's on it, and takes it off and then hands it to you and says, if you could give this to my son Flux. It's been in my family for generations, and I just want to make sure that he gets it. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
You're so kind.
Of course. I'll bring this to Flux. In the meantime, I do ask that you please... Oh, I'm so sorry to say this, but please do try your best to keep your distance from as many of the red squirrels as you can, as many of everyone, really. There's a small... We're trying to set up a quarantine centre sort of east of here, in the eastern part of the hutches. You can try to make your way there, but on your way, please just do refrain from touching anyone or speaking to them.
I like what you said. I feel like this is a good first chance for you to roll something.
Okay. I don't know how to roll things.
I know. That's why we're doing this right now. So,
Cool.
so that you can get used to it. So what you can look at is on your skills page is you've got you would click any of the buttons that's to the left of the skill. So if you're trying, clearly you're trying to convince this person, you would click rapport, because that's kind of the, do they like you or not? Are you convincing, that kind of thing?
Right.
You could roll like empathy to see how he's feeling about that, and you'd be creating an advantage essentially, which an advantage is something that would give you a boost on another roll per se. So I'm not saying this guy won't do it, but if you want to make sure that he does, what you could do is roll empathy.
Okay.
And then if you roll well enough, then I would give you an aspect that you would get a free invocation of, which is basically like your aspects. And invoking an aspect means that you get a +2 bonus to whatever roll you make.
Okay.
Based off of that. Does that make sense? So let's say you roll...
do it and see.
So let's just do
it. So I
So
roll empathy.
yeah, roll empathy. And that would be a 3. Okay, so what that means is that a +3 is also good on the ladder of everything. So you have a +3. And then that would be against some kind of... It's just like every other RPG. Like, you would have to beat a whatever he rolls for his deception if he's actively trying to not do that. So I would roll against that. I'm not going to. I'm just going to set a passive opposition of what was going to be like a 1. So with a 3, you beat that, which means you succeed, which means I get to tell you one of the aspects that has to do with his emotional state right now.
Okay.
So you're just trying to learn something about him. And so the thing that you really learn about him would be that he is very much a family man. So he wants to... So like he clearly cares about his family. It's why he wanted to put that away. He didn't want the kids to get sick. Things like that. That's what I'm going to give you as an aspect. So this person, who we have not named, he has the aspect family man.
All right.
And so now that you've done that, what you could do is add something to what you're saying, and then you'd roll rapport, essentially, to kind of get him to do what you want him to do. And then you would add +2 to that roll because you invoked the aspect.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And you can also invoke any of your other aspects as well. So as long as you can have a narrative reason to say so. You're an elderly advocate of the downtrodden. This person knows how much you like to help other people. And now he's helping you. And so, like, you know what best to say to people when they're suffering, whatever.
Right. So I could add, like, And just so you know, in this quarantine center, I'm afraid it's mostly children who have been afflicted, and it would be good for them to have an older man like you there to help them understand everything that they're going through. They need a good father figure.
Good. And so and then you would follow that up when we're actually playing by saying, I'm trying to invoke that family man aspect. And then, is there anything else you'd like to... Well, you can do it afterwards, but you can roll rapport, and then we can add things to that. So go ahead and roll rapport.
Okay.
Which is also a 3, and then with that invocation of the aspect family man, that ends up being a 5, which is superb. Essentially, that's the word that would be assigned to it, is superb, which basically means he's going to do exactly what you said. The choices, every time that I'd make you roll something, I'm going to make sure there's a good choice or a bad choice. And so like if you didn't succeed on that roll, it would be that he's going to try to become better so he can go back in. So he's going to seek all the help that he can. And in fact, it would end up spreading the affliction a little bit more.
Yeah.
Versus him just doing what you say. So that's just me telling you that my plan to GM is that there's always going to be a good option and a bad option. Good luck. Don't fail your rolls.
Cool.
But the good thing about Fate is that if you can think narratively, this is how this will work, you can basically always roll your best skills and never have to worry about the bad ones. As long as you're, clever.
Yeah.
So he looks up at you and looks down on the ground, and you can tell he feels a little bit ashamed of what he was thinking a second ago, but you've convinced him to do exactly what you wanted him to do. And he looks up and he says, "Thank you. I'll do exactly that." And he stands up and he starts trudging, and he moves to the east, where you said the quarantine center was, and you can continue making on your way. The next thing that you have to do is you are meeting up with all of your neighbor friends, the elderly, and you are setting up for the celebration. Tomorrow's Giving's Day celebration. And you walk up and... "Oh, Clementine, you're here. Good. We just need some help getting all the way up to the top, and you are arguably the most nimble of us. We just need to hang these lights. Could you help us, please?"
Oh, one day you won't be able to ask such an old squirrel to do these sorts of things for you, but I suppose one more task won't hurt. And I stretch a little bit. To make that noise.
Do some calisthenics, nice little squats and stretches and whatnot.
Yeah, crack my back, crack my hips. And I'm like, all right, here you go. And I start doing the thing.
Okay, I'm just going to say you're able to, because you're a squirrel, and squirrels are really good at climbing, even if they're old.
Yep.
And you put things up there, and the entire time, underneath, you can hear all the talkings of the other old folks, because you know how much old folks like to gossip.
Oh boy, do I.
And you hear things like, "Do you think the Red Resistance is going to make their face again this year? It's been 2 or 3 since the last time they've tried to ruin something, but I just have this feeling in my joints, Oh yes, the Red Resistance, how quaint they are with their grand illusions of revolution in a society in which we take care of them oh so well already. It just seems pointless, if you ask me, for them to keep poking their head around." And just, you keep hearing things about, they gossip about
So, they're like underneath me, right? And I'm hanging up. What am I hanging up?
You're hanging up. I'm going to now go with, a string of candles. Because I don't think electricity exists.
Yeah.
So it's a
Can I just, like,
string.
passive-aggressively drop one of the candles on one of their heads?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, you can.
All right.
Ow! Clementine!
Oh, my apologies, miss. I overheard you speaking about the Red Resistance, and I guess it just startled me, and, well, you know, me and my old squirrel fingers, it just slipped out of my hand.
Oh, you don't need to worry about the Red Resistance. You know that.
Oh, no, I'm not
They don't even
worried
show up
about
anymore.
the Red Resistance. I'm worried for them, madam.
Oh, yes, you and your representation. It's why you were chosen to represent them at the celebrations tomorrow. What is planned for the giving of gifts, the exchange where you and Logright give a gift to the other community?
Well,
What is it this year?
as usual, I know you brown squirrels, and especially the generals, they love seeing the red squirrels dance, don't they? So we've prepared a small seasonal dance for everyone. It should be quite the showstopper.
Oh, I do love the traditional dances of the red squirrel. They are very charming and just fun. They're just fun.
Of course.
And I think that's kind of the end of your conversation with other people during this time.
Yeah.
I mean, you get together, you have all these dinner parties, and they like you, and you like them, and you're a part of the same elderly community with your dinner parties and whatnot. But there always seems to get to a point with you and these other squirrels where y'all just stop talking to each other for the rest of the night. And I think that's this point right here. Very early. It's a new record for you, I'm sure. And you go to bed. So you go home to your house, which is on the border between the brown squirrel community and the hutches, and you attempt to go to sleep. But the coughing of those afflicted by the affliction keeps you up, and you just keep thinking about how you don't want them to dance for the brown squirrels, and how you don't want them to be the place where the quarantine section is, and everything else that, you know, you've gotten fed up with over the years trying to help out the red squirrels as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. I think I make a decision right then and there about what performance we're going to do for the Giving's Day. Instead of doing the seasonal joyous fairy slipper dance, which is based off of some of the flowers that grow in the forest, we're going to do the dance of the white rose, which is a spiritual dance of mourning for all of those red squirrels who lost their lives due to the affliction. And it is a dance that the red squirrels used to do for sort of the equivalent of like a funeral service, but they haven't been able to do them for the past few years, ever since their place of worship was burnt down.
Okay. Awesome. When you get up in the morning, do you like meet with all of the red squirrels in order to get them down onto the new plan?
I think I only meet with the children who were going to do the dance. So I quickly teach them the steps for the dance of the white rose, and some of them remember it a little bit. They remember like maybe their parents teaching it to them. So it's not like too much work to teach it, but I just make sure that they all know how it goes, and then it's going to be kind of a surprise for everyone else.
I dig it. All right, so you have taught these children the dance of the white rose, and you are on your way to the ceremony. Mm-hmm. The big Giving's Day celebration, and there's food, and there's laughter and storytelling and all kinds of things going on, and you can still see the kind of segregation, as this is basically the only time that the red squirrels are allowed into the brown squirrel place with like free access, right? There's a lot of not literal masks, but kind of, oh, I'm so glad that you're here, please, let's party together. And the red squirrels are always very, very hesitant.
Yeah.
But this is all going on. People are walking up to you and asking you questions about what dance they're going to do this year, because I'm sure that it's kind of like now a tradition that they just do dances. And you, I don't know how you answer, but I'm guessing it's kind of coy and not, oh, the white rose.
Yeah,
it's a
I kind of
funeral
just
dance.
yeah, I kind of just brush it off, say as little as I can get away with.
Oh, and Jip is having a good time stuffing his face with as much food as he can.
Of course.
Of course. Of course. Of course. And you hear a large, well, not a large bell. You just hear one of those, like, dinner bells. Ding, 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 ding. As everybody stops, because now it is time for the exchange of gifts. And General Logwright walks out, as he always does in years past, and invites you to step forward to exchange gifts. And he makes an announcement saying that normally I am the one that gives gifts this year, but since this is the 10th anniversary of the Giving's Day celebration, we have a much honored guest. Instead of me this year, King Tooth-Teeth is here to exchange gifts. And the crowd is stunned for a second until they see him, King Tooth-Teeth, king of the brown squirrels, and then people just go wild that he is here gracing everybody with his presence. And especially the brown squirrels. The red squirrels not so much, but the brown squirrels are going crazy like it's a rock concert. And he puts his hand up, kind of like the Pope does, in order to silence everybody. And they get quiet, and he walks up to you, Clementine.
I hold my head high.
And he kind of nods at you in like a slight show of respect. Of course, that's what he does. As he also holds his head up high most of the time.
I think I give just enough of a bow that I bow, but it's like as little as I possibly can. Like just the smallest curtsy and little head nod.
Ah, a good passive-aggressive bow. One of my favorite things. That's going to be a staple. I can tell. Let's see, you would go first. So I guess you would address him.
A pleasure to have you here, Your Grace. I do hope that you enjoy the Dance of the White Rose as performed by the youth of the red squirrel population.
And
do they dance and then I ask, or do I ask first?
No,
Okay.
no. They'll dance and then you ask, I think would be the way that would work best.
Okay.
And but he nods at you again and looks. I don't think he knows what the Dance of the White Rose is. I don't think he cares to know.
Yeah.
But he looks excited, is what he does. And well, I mean, in his eyes, he's like, "Oh, I'm excited to see this dance. These little children dance for me," kind of feeling. And he just kind of, and I'm guessing they perform very well.
Yes, and I think that the performance itself, even if you didn't know what the Dance of the White Rose was exactly, because the dance is so symbolic and so spiritual, it's pretty obvious. Like they basically, it's like this, it's such a mournful, slow sort of dance. And even within the dance, there's symbolism of like dying and, you know, maybe going to whatever life comes after that in the red squirrel faith, which is different from the brown squirrel faith. So it's a little bit risky to be performing it.
Yeah, and I think that the red squirrels, when they first see that you're not doing the original dance and you're doing the dance of the white rose, or as soon as you say it, I guess, before they even start doing it, they just look scared. A lot of them, it's a mixture of shocked and scared on their faces because they do not know what's going to happen this time. And then as the dance goes on, you can see that they feel mournful as well, and that they're not only mourning for those lost to the affliction and things like that, but they're also just mournful about the death of their culture. Essentially, is kind of how they feel as well, and it kind of gets them a little bit pumped up
Yeah.
about this. They're like, Clementine's got a plan. I know she's a brown squirrel. She's not one of us, but she's got a plan. And then it ends, and there's a small spattering of applause. It's not the general applause, because normally the dance is joyous, and the brown squirrels love it. But this time, it's just kind of like, yeah, woo, that was nice. Okay, how strange is kind of what the general audience is feeling right now.
All right.
And the king says, well, that was nice. Thank you, Clementine, and the wonderful children. Thank you for that dance. And he claps a little bit while he says that. And then he turns back to you and he says, you have given us a great gift, and we would love to give you something in return. You need only ask.
Well, Your Grace, that dance was dedicated to all of the lives lost in the past year to the affliction. And because we've lost so many lives, I humbly ask that you dedicate one brown squirrel doctor to a residency in the hutches where they can look after all of the red squirrels who become afflicted and give proper medical care to them.
You hear one brown squirrel from General Logright's council go, but that's suicide!
Well, I shout back, well, without it, it's murder!
And King Tooth Teeth raises up his hand and actually points it at the lady that just yelled, but that's suicide. Just holds his hand up in order to quiet her. And he looks at you and says, you'll have it. And then looks at General Logright, who is subtly shaking his head no to the king, which is something. He says, Your Highness, the affliction has hurt so many, and the brown squirrel population only has so many doctors. We would be losing a lot of important care here if we did that. And the red squirrels are getting pretty angry about that. And you hear one of them go, 2 doctors! And then another one goes, and we don't want the quarantine center in the hutches. And things like that. And you just hear a lot of shouts about how they want more and more and more. What do you do?
I say, everyone settle down! And I look at the king and I say, you too! And I say, I wish we could have 1,000 doctors in the hutches. More doctors than squirrels. I wish we could have a proper hospital. I wish we didn't have a need for a quarantine center at all, but right now it's just too much to ask for. Everyone's having a hard time because of the affliction, and everyone seems too afraid to do anything about it except hurt their neighbors. Well, I am going to go find a cure. I will go to legendary Redwall, and I will find a way to stop this affliction from tormenting both of our people. And I'll be back soon enough with a solution for you all. I promise. I swear on Gerard's life, I will save you.